Ve bir diğer konuşmacımız DE-CIX International CEO'su Sayın Ivanov'u kürsüye rica edeceğim. Simultane olarak da çevirisi olacaktır. Please. Bu bilgiyi de aktarmış olayım. Sayın Ivanov, buyurun.
So I prefer to stay here in order to present better and be closer to you, but not that close. So we'll keep the distance. Dear Minister and dear President of the BTK, dear guests, dear friends of digitalization, I want to talk today about the digital future which can be possible in Turkey, about digital Turkey, based on some evaluations we have done to share with you our thoughts on what is important to be respected today and in the future in order to be able to create the digital quality of services all the people in this country deserve. Let me start with a very brief overview of what DE-CIX does and stays for today. As of today, DE-CIX operates internet exchange platforms in 28 different markets. DE-CIX Turkey is extremely proud to operate, has been operating now for almost 6 years, the platform in Istanbul, where all major operators of the country, plus a long list of international operators, are connected with a great result already, the result of localizing of content. The traffic doesn't fly across Europe, doesn't fly across Asia or the United States, it stays in Turkey, where the people are, right? And where the businesses are. And this is what it comes about. What it comes about, even if we talk, or especially if we talk about security, because you cannot manage security if you don't have control of the traffic, and you lose the control of the traffic if this traffic leaves the country. So simple. I don't want to jump into too many or too much numbers here, but this number is very important. More than 2,200 networks are connected to all these platforms. And our ambition is to bring a big portion of them to Turkey, to get them served by the operators here, to be served in data centers across the country, and so far and so on. With this number, we see the largest data center and operator neutral interconnection ecosystem in the world. And we want to establish in Turkey the next big hotspot for telecommunications business and digitalization if it comes to digital infrastructure in the future. And it's about this future. Let's forget status now. Let's think about what is needed to be done in the future. And to understand what is needed to be done in the future, we need to look into the trends. What happens outside? What happens on the market with the businesses, the needs of the people, the needs of government, the needs of different stakeholders if it comes to digitalization. And all these sectors you see here, disregarding if it's manufacturing, education, entertainment, healthcare, agriculture, transportation or logistics in general, they have one big thing in common. This is digitalization. Digital everywhere for everybody and everything. There are a lot of speeches about IoT, 5G, different applications, and they are all right. Digitalization is everywhere. Even a company which produces entirely non-digital products has digital processes already implemented, or if not, this needs to be implemented in the future. And the big question here is, what does this mean for digital infrastructure? And I prefer to answer this question answering the question of the perspective of the users. The businesses, the companies, the enterprises, the stakeholders, public and private sector, and the users at the end of the day. Because infrastructure should help the users in offices and homes to enjoy digital services. So look into the applications, because this is what's all about. Telecommunication and digital infrastructure are there because of the applications used by the people. And if we look into the applications in our daily lives, business and private applications, so these are just a couple of examples. On the business side, of course, we are all tired of video conferencing, right? Of the Teams, of the Zooms, of the Skypes, etc. But we all use it, and we'll use it in the future. So video conferencing, extremely important, popular. Virtual desktops, cloud applications, e-manufacturing. Just a couple of examples, what happens actually already. From the private sector, I don't need to mention that entertainment, streaming of live sports events, gaming, e-learning, e-health, people start to use more and more virtual doctor visits, or they need to start, because it's much better. It's more efficient, and especially in these times is even more secure not to get out if you can talk to your doctor and get also results in your living room. Connected car. Also a great example how digitalization becomes so close to what we do daily driving on the street. And what do all these have in common if it comes to infrastructure? They have the appetite for the lowest latency possible, because all these applications, they're extremely latency sensitive. If the latency doesn't work, the application doesn't work, the performance is horrible, nobody uses it, people get frustrated, businesses are losing money. And you see, we're talking not about hundreds of milliseconds, we're getting down to 15, even lower than 10 milliseconds. The max is 65. There are already operators, they say a proper high-def sports live streaming cannot be performed properly on higher than 30 milliseconds. Or online gaming, extremely sensitive, the same, lower than 30 milliseconds. If it comes to really sensitive virtual desktop applications in different companies, if it comes to e-manufacturing, real-time robotics, we're talking about 2 to 3 milliseconds only. If it comes to automation and autonomous driving on the street, if it comes to 2 to 3 milliseconds only. But what does this mean? It means distance, speed of light. So simple. If we're here, we need infrastructure as close as possible where the things are, the people are, the cars are, the robots are. So it cannot be served out of Frankfurt, out of Singapore, out of Dubai or Amsterdam. It has to be in the region. Even probably not out of Istanbul and Ankara only. And I'll get back to this just in a second. And if we think about this, there are two very important elements. The first is that latency, and this is how I call it, is the new currency. This becomes the new currency in the infrastructure business. The operators and the infrastructure operators who can provide the lowest latency possible, they will have success. The economies who are able to introduce robust, reliable digital infrastructure serving this latency will grow in the future, because digital infrastructure will become more and more, if it's not yet the case, the engine of economic growth. And the second aspect is the service aspect, based on the digitalization of enterprises at all, with their challenges, with their needs. And we just see here a couple of examples or a summary of what enterprises, industry need if it comes to digital infrastructure. They need it fast, secure, efficient, and of course compliant with the regulations. This is what they need to fulfill. So if we keep these two elements in mind, the requirement for the lowest latency possible and the requirement for security, speed, efficiency, and compliancy, then translated to digital infrastructure, this means the following. Infrastructure needs to get as close as possible to the people and the businesses. Really across the country. Data centers, fiber, internet exchanges, interconnection platforms. And on the service side, we need services on this digital infrastructure who are able to meet these requirements. Let's now have a look on Turkey. Of course, Istanbul is the biggest city, followed by Ankara. But look, if it comes to the people of Turkey and businesses in Turkey, digital infrastructure, and talking as an operator of an interconnection platform, internet exchange needs to get closer to the edge, needs to get closer to where people live. And those are cities, all of those cities have, correct me if I'm wrong, but minimum 1 million people as population, or the most of them. So this is where we need to focus on in the next years, to create more digital infrastructure closer to people and businesses. This is the mandate, and this is mandatory if it comes to meet these two requirements: the geographic densification and the services on the platform. And now I want to talk about services more. Geography, it's clear, but what is about the services? And the services should be based on trends and challenges industries have today, because that's all about how to enable the digital transformation of the economy in general, disregarding if it's public or private one. And I picked up 3 sectors: automotive, finance, and health, just as examples of what are the common needs and trends of these very important sectors, which at the same time not crucial for the economy, but also quite of kind of a early adopting digitalization. They are very much into. Let's look into the digital car. If we look today into, I'm not talking about autonomous driving. This is a couple of years ahead of us. I'm talking about the connected car with all digital applications. This is, if it comes to data, the picture, even today. 70% of the data flow stays in the car and can be uploaded at night time, so that's not that crucial if it comes to latency, if it comes to security. But what is crucial are the other 30%. 5% car-to-car communication, extremely sensitive, real-time. 20 car-to-cloud, and another 5 car-to-environment, sensors on the streets, etc. So this is the situation in the car sector as of today. If we talk about finance, what are the trends on in the finance sector? And they are huge. It's about all these different areas where digitalization and digital infrastructure is needed in a different way. Why? Because the banks, they stopped treating their business just a loan and mortgage business only. This is stupid. This is commodity. They know how to do this. They have done this for ages. What they do now is to try to cover the entire value chain. To start not with the mortgage only, to start with the developer of a property, to create a real estate agency, to finance the property and support insurance and other services after. So they want to cover the entire value chain, and they need to make it digital. Having said this, they need a huge coverage of infrastructure interacting with all their data buyers and suppliers. And the need is to make it as simple as possible and as efficient as possible. Let's look at the healthcare sector. Remote patient management, virtual doctor's visits are becoming more and more popular. We know already today there are a lot of devices. We can measure blood pressure, make an eye test, ear test, and other tests in the homes. In real time, exchange with the doctor. So it's a real virtual doctor visit using applications on the video side, like Teams, for instance, and at the same time using smart devices who do real-time or must real-time communicate with the doctor. extremely sensitive. It comes to the data. It requires a very good performance to the latency, because if we are sitting sick in our living room and the Teams connection doesn't work, everybody can imagine how frustrating this can be, right? If you cannot talk to your doctor properly, if the test data is not transmitted properly, and so forth and so on. And these are also areas where digitalization is so much in. And now, if we take all this together, you can ask me, but why are you talking about this? They have the operators, they do this with operators. No, it's not possible to do this with one operator only, or even not with two. These organizations, to make sure this happens, they need to get their control on the data more and more. They need to get involved into this. And let's talk about security. We're at this great eSafe conference with a very important topic of security. And to touch on this from the security point of view means we have the general problem in transmission of data if it comes to IP hijacking and cyber attacks. What these issues, criminal attacks, they can create. Based on automotive, the result can be that criminals, based on IP hijacking and cyber attacks on the global internet, they could get a control on the car today. They can use the car as a weapon. They can steal the identity of the driver, use the car for a terrorism attack even in areas. So horrible things we can imagine about. The next one, finance. Of course, if finance data is corrupted, everybody understands what can happen. Economics can be under risk, companies can be under risk, and private individual investments can be under risk. The savings of people, in very simple words. And the health, it's so simple, it's so sensitive. This is about all of us. This is the most personal data we have, the data about our health. And all these risks, they can be solved. They can be solved if we localize traffic, if we localize traffic exchange, if we give these organizations a better transparency with whom they are exchanging data, where the data is flowing, and to give them the chance to control compliance, to control the data quality and security. We as DE-CIX, we have created the concept of the closed user group, which is nothing else than a private virtual ecosystem locally in the country, in the city, where an organization can create their interconnection, private ecosystem, like a bank, for instance, inviting all the data buyers and suppliers to attend this, connect to this closed user group, under the policy which is given by authorities and the company itself, under security requirements, and then everybody knows each other. So it's very hard for criminals to get in because it's more transparent. And it's direct interconnection. There are no intermediates. Without hops, you don't have a high risk of attack. It's DDoS free. This is something which we believe should be the future. We cannot rely on IP transit generally only, not on MPLS only. There must be a mix, a new mix of serving all these needs to make sure that it stays secure, extremely fast because of the direct interconnection, efficient because of many-to-one, aggregating locally, and not lapping a request of a citizen in Ankara to his doctor over Frankfurt. This doesn't make sense, and it's extremely inefficient and unsecure. It has to happen in the country. And what's next? Based on this logic, there are great things happening outside. We know about the 5G. So many articles outside about 5G. I saw this beautiful exhibition, and congratulations to this, outside, where there are a couple of booths reflecting on 5G. And this is the future, because 5G stays for the frequencies which are needed to control the millions of sensors and the data of these sensors. And this has to happen on site, has to happen on the crossroad, has to happen in the neighborhood where the people are, the applications are driven. And we have developed as DE-CIX, if it comes to interconnection, the logic of the 5G interconnection triangle, consisting of the 5G technology serving the IoT streams based on artificial intelligence management. So literally solutions as a small box which can be placed in mobile cell towers, can be placed as close as possible to the highways where the cars are, or to different events where people need to use the applications. And last but not least, also a very interesting topic which will drive the future, the low Earth orbit satellite access. All these shoe-sized boxes which will be operated in the low Earth orbit, which can provide significantly better bandwidth, reducing latency below 30 milliseconds, and we know this is the magic threshold for a lot of applications. And this LEO satellite technology will be able to cover areas on a much better business case where operators struggle with their investments for good reasons, because it's expensive to build fiber, it's expensive to lay down a subsea cable. The LEO satellite technology can help there. And this technology requires also, on the ground, proper local interconnection, because the space is the space, but the content has to be exchanged. And we have created the program of SpaceX, which is on-ground interconnection stations for LEO satellite operators. With this outlook into the future, I would say, ladies and gentlemen and dear friends of the digital infrastructure and economy, not the sky is the limit of what we should think, the space is the limit. Thank you so much, Teşekkürler, and have a great day. Stay very healthy and very happy.